Hello heroes and villains, welcome to Multiverse. A question that often comes back is, will we get new powers in DCUO Online? Or when will we get new powers in DCUO Online? There was a post on the forums by Mepps that did kind of shed a bit of light on that subject. Let us take a look. So there was a thread on the forums talking about new powers, and I guess somebody was misquoting what Mepps or what some of the devs said in the past. So Mepps did make a post to clarify a few things. He pretty much starts by mentioning a few things that they probably did mention in the past, like a new power set is an enormous endeavor for devs, time that cuts across all teams. Adding a new power set adds complexity and upkeep game-wide permanently. As new content and systems are added and balanced initiatives occur because of those new powers, obviously. Choosing to spend that dev time on a new power set means choosing not to spend that time somewhere else. Basically, it comes down to how can the devs best spend their time. He also mentions a certain power set's balance actually has little impact on how much the power set is played. And also looking at the data, basically they have the data of how many players play which power sets and who switches to a new power whenever a new power gets added. And basically the most played power sets are the 6 free powers, then following almost exactly in order of original release. So basically most people play the six free power sets, obviously because they're free, so most people don't have to pay for those. But then he mentioned that it does go in the order of release. So basically when we got the Green Lantern power, more people did switch to that power set. Although we have to remember also, like with the Green Lantern power set, we had a free respect token. So when we got the Green Lantern power set, we could switch to the Green Lantern power without spending any money. So that probably did help encourage a lot of people to switch to Green Lantern powers, as opposed to once we reached, I believe with Electric, then you had to pay to get the new power, and you had to pay to respect to that new power as well. So basically you had to pay at least $5 to purchase the power, unless you bought the DLC of course, and then you had to pay an extra, I forget if it's $5 or $10 to switch to a new power. But he seems to say that the more we got new powers, and the less and less people would switch to that new power, because obviously if you've been playing let's say the Green Lantern power for months and months or years and years, would you really switch to a new power just because we get a new power? Especially if if your character is literally a Green Lantern, yeah, you're probably not going to switch powers anyway. Unless of course, what if they came up with the Blue Lantern power? Like we got the Quantum power that kind of works to be able to recreate a Blue Lantern if we really want to. But what if instead of Quantum, they actually came up with the Blue Lantern power? I have to wonder if maybe more people would have switched to that power as opposed to Quantum. And then he does mention, let's say, the challenges of interpreting the data, because it is one thing to get numbers, but what do those numbers mean? Sometimes that can be interpreted in different ways. He is comparing that a bit with people asking for new styles. Basically everyone wants new styles all the time, but when they do release a certain style, even a well-received style, most players are actually happy about it, but most players don't use it. It does make sense that if people are asking, let's say, for a new Batman style, obviously if you're not playing a Batman character, odds are you are not going to use that new style. Although it could happen that like we have, let's say, the Batman Beyond style, the Batman Beyond wings could be used for other characters than Batman Beyond. You could create a sort of a vampire type character. At some point you could have created a Man-Bat, although now we do have some official Man-Bat style. But there's quite a few things you could do sometimes with different styles. But as a rule of thumb, obviously if they do come up with a new Batman style, and you're not only playing a Batman type character, then yeah, you're probably not going to use that style very much. And I guess the same could be true for the powers. Let's say you have a Green Lantern type character, well obviously you're going to use the light powers. So if they come up with a Orange Lantern power, well your character is a Green Lantern power, so obviously you are not going to switch power unless you decide to respect your character into an Orange Lantern, or unless you decide to create a new character and then make that character an Orange Lantern. If you're playing a Green Lantern character, odds are you will keep on playing your Green Lantern character, and you're not going to use that new power. So I guess as time went by, they thought that not enough people were using those new powers, so that might be why they're not in a hurry to give us new powers. I hope that they will still give us new powers at some point. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that. Although based on this post, I think it would be pretty much unlikely because again, it does mention that there is a demand for new power set, but maybe they can try to fill that demand, not necessarily with power set, but with other things. Like he does mention the artifacts or the allies, and we saw that with a few artifacts. Like there's a bird of prey comlink device that gives us the bird blitz ability, so it kind of gives us a new power ability we can have in our loadout if we want to, without having to change our power. So they are trying to give us new powers ability in a roundabout ways. I'm not sure why they don't just give us more iconic powers. That could be one way to at least satisfy some people. In order to add more and more iconic powers as time went by. But then again, they don't really monetize those iconic powers, as opposed to they do monetize the artifacts or the allies, at least a little bit. So I can see their incentives into adding new abilities to artifacts and allies, as opposed to just adding new abilities. Although if they were to add new powers, people would pay for those powers. It's $5 to purchase those powers. Although again, making those new powers requires a lot of work, and maybe there's not enough people willing to spend $5 for those new powers. Although he does end the post with a bit of hope. So he says that I'm sure we will have more. Realistic or not realistic, we're always excited to read your ideas. So I would encourage everyone to spend your time and farm efforts there. So he does mention that they are trying to find an alternative to giving us new abilities, even if it doesn't mean giving us new powers. Again, he does mention the artifacts and the allies. There's probably some other ways also they could give us new abilities. But again, he does end with a bit of hope, saying that he's sure that we will get more eventually. But the question is, when will we get new powers? We don't really know. Although again, he does encourage people to go to the forums and to give their suggestions on what they would like for new powers, or what kind of new powers they would like to have, or anything else for that matter. Although, even if you go to the forums and even if you make suggestions, there's no guarantee that they will execute your suggestions. Sadly, there's only so many things the devs can do, and at the end of the day, they have to make a choice. So sometimes you could have a really great suggestion, but there is no guarantee that they will execute your suggestion, at least not in the short term. There could be that there's 100 other things that have the priority over your great suggestion. Like sometimes people make great suggestions, but there's 1,000 other things that's more important at the moment to fix before they can even think about including your suggestion. So sadly, sometimes even when we ask for something, it may take a while before that something actually happens. There's quite a few examples we have in the game so far. I remember way back when there was a time where having a green aura was just not possible. And it wasn't possible because DC were saying no, basically. At some point, somehow the devs were able to change DC's mind, or something happened, and then DC and Online were able to give us a green aura for a Green Lantern character. It was a bit weird at the time because we did have the golden aura that we could use for our evil Yellow Lantern characters at the time, but then when we were asking for a green aura, somehow the green aura was a big no-no. So yellow aura, that was not a problem. But green aura, nah, we just couldn't do it. Apparently at the time, they were able to get around giving us a yellow aura by calling it the golden aura. So no, it wasn't a golden aura. It wasn't a yellow aura. It's a golden aura. We thought they could try to do something similar with the green aura, but in the end, they didn't have to. They finally were able to give us the green aura that we were asking for. The same thing with the Green Lantern emblems. For a long time, we could not get a Green Lantern emblem. And then eventually they gave us the Scion of Ion gear, which had a built-in Green Lantern emblem that was color locked. But then sometime later, they finally gave us all the Lantern emblems in the game, and they even gave us a regular version of those emblems and an enhanced version of those emblems. We saw the same pattern also with the Superman emblem. For a long time, we could not get a Superman emblem. Then we got the BVS emblem, sadly for a very short time. But then later on we got the Superman Anniversary emblem, which sadly was available for a limited amount of time. And that emblem was supposed to be gone forever. But it turns out that it was back this year for the 85th anniversary of Superman. Will that emblem ever come back after that? I have no idea. So if you do not have your Superman emblem just yet, go get it on the Tempest Region vendor right now before it's too late. It was the same thing also for Batman or the Batman call. Like for a long time we were asking for long-eared Batman call, and eventually they finally gave it to us. So sometimes even if we ask and ask for something, there's no guarantee that we'll get it. And even if we do get it, there's no guarantee that we'll get it right away. Another example of that would be the Blue Beetle suit. At some point, they got us to vote for that Blue Beetle suit, and at first we were supposed to get it like during the summer, and then there was some delays, and we thought we would get it for December, and there was some delays, and we got it like June the next year, and even then we got the Blue Beetle style only for a short amount of time, and then of course the question people had was when we'll get the Blue Beetle style again, and we just got it not too long ago when we got the Blue Beetle movie. So if you guys want to have new powers, go to the forums and ask for those new powers. Also, don't hesitate to make suggestions about those new powers. What kind of new powers you would like to have, and also how they could implement those new powers in the game. Maybe out there someone has a great idea on how we could add new powers to DC Universe Online. So go to the forums and make your suggestions to the devs. But again, be prepared to play the long game. It doesn't mean that you will get the new powers today, tomorrow, next week. Could be we will get that new power next year, in 2 years, in 5 years. Again, sadly, in some cases, we have to play the long game. And for the new powers, it's probably one of those cases. So there we go, guys. So people asking for new powers is something I see all the time. I see it on the forums, but I also see it in the comments of my videos from time to time. So I thought you guys might appreciate Mepps' post on the subject. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to go to the forums and ask your questions. Or again, if you have suggestions, go to the forums and make your suggestions. Or if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask your questions in the comment section of my videos. I'll see what I can do about answering your questions. I try to answer as many questions as I can. Sadly, there's a lot of you guys out there nowadays. There's a lot of questions. So I do the best I can to try to answer everyone. Although, if somehow I don't answer your question, I made over 3,000 videos about DC Universe Online at this point. So if you do have a question about DC Universe Online, odds are I already made a video about it. So search in my videos, odds are I already made a video that answers your question.